what's up? It's your girl B. Welcome back to my channel, and today we're gonna be doing this video a little bit differently. Because for today's video, I'm gonna be doing a makeup before and after. Basically how I used to do my makeup before versus how I do it now. Shout out to my friend Samantha for giving me this idea. By the way, if you don't already know me, my name is Bianca and I post all things beauty. So if that is the kind of content that you like to watch, then please hit that subscribe button. With all that being said, I'm excited to start, so let's start the video. By no means am I saying that my makeup before was bad. I feel like makeup kind of evolves with you. That's why we have different trends, because makeup evolves over time. There's always something new to learn and people always come up with new techniques, new methods. And that's why I love makeup so much, because it's a never-ending evolving and learning process. So let's start. I have so many products in front of me, I'm overwhelmed. I have used this for my whole face right now, but I never used to do that. We are going to do the before look on this side and the after look on this side. I've got a nude liner right here. Let's draw a line in the middle somehow. Alright, so the line is drawn. I'm looking really weird right now. We're gonna start with the primer for the left side. Applying that all over. While that primer sets, I'm going to start on my eyebrows. If you guys remember, the trend before was Instagram brows. I did use different kind of products for my brows before. It would either be a pencil or a powder or a pomade, but the technique would always be the same. I would always draw the outline of the brow first and then fill in. Starting from the front of my brows and marking the shape that I want. And I never used to worry about being too precise with the pencil, because I would then go in and carve it with the concealer. I remember my brows used to be so thick. It was as if I was overcompensating for not having any brows in the first place. Filling in the front, and I would blend that upwards as well. I still remember the favorite part in doing my brows was the carving out of the shape. So we're actually gonna do that right now with the eyeshadow base. Wow, it's been a while since I've done this. And then I would just bring that down to the rest of my eyelid. I remember taking so much time for my brows to make sure that it was perfect, because my makeup was not perfect if my brows were not perfect. And there's the Instagram brow that I always used to do. Now I no longer use powder, pencil, pomade. I still do want precision in my eyebrows. I just want it to be more natural. Kind of like my brows, but better. I actually use two pens. So this one is responsible for building up the pigment, creating hair-like shadows. Okay, so I'm done creating the shadow with this. I'm gonna go ahead with another pen, which has a bit more pigment to it. The brush of this one is a little more thinner. So this one I use to mimic actual brow hair. Kind of like I did microblading, but not really. And then I would use a clean brush without any product and just kind of clean up the shape a little bit by diffusing that product. And if I feel like the pigment is too much, I just brush it through with the spoolie. And with that, we're done with the brows. Alright, the brows are done, and now we're gonna work on the base. The first thing that we gotta do is correct. As you can see, I've got a lot of acne marks. I used to use Pure Orange pot concealer from MAC. I do not have that anymore. And I'm not saying that was wrong for me to do, because I had a tendency to go ashy with my foundation. But I do think that I was using a lot of product. I'm actually gonna be using a lip palette because I don't have something like that anymore. I'm gonna take a little bit of this and I'm gonna mix it with whatever I had left from the primer. It's not exactly the color I used to use, but I think this is the closest thing. So I'm just putting that all over my face, basically. Under my eyes, all over my forehead, because that's where I was really prone to ashiness. And especially around my nose and mouth. And also down my chin. I'm gonna put a little bit here as well for my acne scars. And right now I'm looking crazy. Now for this side, I'm also using a corrector, but not as orange as that one. And this one has coverage to it. I think because this product has coverage to it, that's why I don't need to use a lot. I'm gonna focus on my dark circles here. As you can see, the color is very different. It's more of a deep salmon color. I'm gonna put this onto my temple to hide the greenish blue of my forehead veins. I have a lot of acne scars here, so I'm just spreading that out. And the most important again is around my nose and mouth. Compared to before, now I put less product and it's more concentrated. For this side, I would leave it actually like this, and for this I'm gonna blend it out. I'm not spreading it out because I still want that correction in specific areas. I'm just kind of patting it around the area that I'm trying to correct, but not more than that. Packing on the coverage as well, and this actually does a lot of the work for me already. This also sort of brightens my face in a way, and then whatever is left on my brush, I bring it up to my forehead. Huge difference already. This is obviously gonna get covered, but like, you get what I mean. Next is foundation. I'm trying to use the products I used before. I used to do everything with a sponge. So we're gonna pick up that product right here and apply that all over my face. Just building that up to give the coverage and cover the correction as well underneath. I also used to bring the foundation into my under eyes. My under eyes were never prone to creasing before, so I never had a problem with that, unlike now. All right, that's done. Now we're gonna move on to this side. I'm actually going to mix another primer, just half a pump of that since we're just doing half the face, and half a pump of the foundation as well. I'm gonna mix that up, and you'll notice that I'm not using a sponge. I'm using a very dense brush. Not that it's better than a sponge, I just feel like I have more control and less product is wasted this way. I'm avoiding under my eyes because we're gonna fill that space with concealer. I also feel that by using a brush, my arm doesn't hurt as much anymore because you really have to bounce the sponge onto your skin, you know? And if I do use a sponge right now, it would be like after all of the liquid or cream products to make sure that everything is blended seamlessly. By the way, if you're wondering what foundation I'm using right now, it is the Gucci Full Coverage Foundation. I do have a review that's up, so if you want to watch it, it's right there. Now that the foundation is done, we're gonna move on to concealer. I always used to use a matte full cover concealer. I used to apply my concealer like this all the way up here, a little bit on my chin, and I used to sweep this to kind of adjust the color and give kind of like a non-touring. Non-touring is basically like a reverse contour. Non-touring is something I still like to do. It gives that more natural contour. I'm gonna take my beauty blender again, and I'm gonna start on my under eyes. Bring that up to my temples, down to my chin, and then this area right here. What's this called? The jaw, and also my forehead. Okay, the line in between is starting to get blurred, but you get the point. For this side, I'm using two concealers. The first one is a creamy concealer for under the eyes, and the second one is a matte concealer for non-touring, basically, or reverse contouring as you call it. The biggest difference I feel is the application. As opposed to before where I would put so much product, I now have more products, but I use them in lesser quantity. Again, using the small dense brush, I'm gonna focus on the under eye first, bring it up to my temple and down here as well. I like to go with the matte hot concealer. I definitely feel like I have much more control with this because I can pick up exactly the amount of product that I need, which is not a lot, and I'm able to focus it much better. Whatever's left on the brush, I'm gonna put that onto my eyelid, and this will kind of act like the primer. Moving on to powder to set all of this. This is my ultimate favorite loose powder because it gives a little bit of extra coverage. I set with this, I bake with this. Although we're not gonna be baking today, we're just gonna be setting it. I am packing that on, kind of like I'm baking but not really. Setting that everywhere. For this side, I'm gonna use Laura Mercier. It's the same as the Laura Mercier translucent powder that you all know and love. It's just in a pressed format. It's easier for me to carry around. As opposed to the Huda Beauty loose powder, that one has a bit of color and coverage, whereas this one is just to set the foundation and concealer. So it has no added coverage. I can definitely feel more weight on the side. It's not a huge difference, but this feels like I'm wearing nothing at all. This side, I can feel like there is something on my face. Now that the base is done, we're gonna go on to like contouring, blush, highlight. I'm gonna be using this color right here with this brush. The brush for me is the biggest change in this step. This one is more pointed, smaller, more precise. Just using that to build my contour. Then I'm gonna go ahead with this coral blush right here. I used to hate blush. When I was younger, I used to be made fun of because every time I would be out in the heat, my entire face would turn as red as a tomato. And it still does that to this day. So I tried to stay away from blush as much as possible because it reminded me of when people would make fun of me of my red face. So I would always stick to blushes that were close to the bronzer color. So the color would be there, but it's almost blended into the bronzer and almost non-existent. And using the powder brush, we're going to clean up those edges so that it's more softer. And I would use this brush to pick on the lightest color and use that for my nose contour. Tapping off the excess and just going into my bridge all the way down to the tip of my nose. And with whatever's left on the brush, I would bring it up to the eye crease, just blending that out. Now for this side, I'm using a neutral bronzer with a much bigger and fluffier brush. I'm taking the product, tapping off the excess and building it slowly. I'm kind of pushing and blending the product as I go, bringing it up to my temples and down my jaw with whatever's left on the brush. I feel like this gives me a more diffused effect. In person, it doesn't show that much of a difference, but on camera, I can see that this looks much more harsher than this. The contour is still there, but it's not as strong. And for the blush, I still don't put as much as people usually do, but I'm definitely more into mauvey, rosy pink colors now. I'm going ahead with this shade right here, pressing that upwards to my temple, and then with whatever's left on the brush, I kind of bring it down to the center area right here and a little bit on my nose. Before I go in with my highlighter, I like to clean it up a little bit more with the same loose powder that I use. So for this side, I want more definition on my jaw. I'm going to pick up some of that product and kind of just sweep it here. And then on this side, I actually like to use a powder foundation. This is a medium to full coverage foundation and I use it to brighten up specific areas. I am using the tiniest amount and going over the areas I want to brighten. So before, I just wanted to be all over bronze. Now it's more like luminous, bright. And while on the other side, I swept the product, here I'm patting it on. I do have more acne scars in this cheek, so this gives me the added coverage. For the highlighter, I still use the same thin fluffy brush. However, the finish of the highlight is what's different to me right now. This is a classic one from Laura Mercier. I'm dipping into that and this kind of gives a sheen. So I would use that here in the middle of my nose bridge, a little bit here. I forgot to contour the side of my nose. I'm gonna do that really quickly right now, but I need to show you because I do this differently as well. I'm focusing on my bridge right here, bringing that outwards. And for this part, I definitely contour under here more. And I also put a little bit here to kind of have a bit of an upturned nose. And let's not forget the sides as well with whatever is left on the brush. And then going in with the powder brush to blend that all in. Okay, back to the highlighter, to the bridge of my nose, tip of my nose, a little bit under my eyebrow. eyebrow. And you can see that it's kind of like a radiant glow. On this side, I'm going to go all out on the highlight. The reason that I did this first is because this is more subtle and I'm using the same brush. I used to have a method for the most blinding highlight ever. I would literally layer these together. So I'm gonna pick this one right here first and kind of go all over with that. Then I would use this to be a bit more precise in one area. And then for the most blinding effect, I would use the lightest one just at the tip of where you want all that light to reflect from. And look at that. Wow, that is blinding. I like to touch up with the blush a little bit again on top because the blinding effect literally cancels out the blush. Just touching up a little bit here as well. And that is it for the face. Now moving forward to the eyes. For me, I will always love cut creases from the bottom of my heart, but unless I'm going for an event somewhere, I don't do that super sharp cut crease like I used to do before. I'm gonna do a basic cut crease look just to show you what I mean. Using this color as a transition shade, putting that all over my crease to blend with the bronzer. Same thing on the other eye. I haven't really changed the style of my eyeshadow as much, so I'm gonna breeze through this a little bit quicker, going ahead with the shade below that to darken my crease. Making sure that all of that is blended out. We're gonna put a bit of that same shade underneath and kind of bring it out. We're gonna further darken it with this shade right here. I'm deepening that crease and again bringing that same color down underneath but more closer to the lash line. We're just gonna diffuse that. For this side, I'm going to use a white base to carve out the cut crease. It could be a concealer or even a skin colored base, but for this video, I'm using white. Now that we've got the shape, I just went in with the second shade to blend that in. And then using a small, flat, precise brush, I'm using a white color from the same palette and just stamping that pigment in. Filling the rest in and making sure that blends with the second shade that we had used. Ooh, I miss doing precise cut crease like this. I'm gonna go ahead with a light glitter highlighter on top of that. Using the white highlighter, I'm not gonna tap off the excess. I'm gonna push that into the white that we've already put on. Wow, it's been so long since I did such a beautiful cut crease like this. Now on to the other side, I'm gonna skip the base. I'm gonna go ahead with the same brush and the same white color and just lay it on like as if I was doing the liquid base. So it's still a cut crease, but it's not as precise and bold as the other side. I feel like this side would be a more wearable cut crease. Even if you don't have an event, you could still do it. Covering my entire lid with that color and then going in with that shimmery highlight shade. And then we're taking a fluffy smudging brush and we're just going to diffuse that. And that is it for the eyeshadow. As you can see, this is more precise and bold. And this is the same exact look, but it's a bit more wearable. Even if you're not gonna go outside for an event, you can still do this look. I do my eyeliner the exact same way as I did before, so I'm gonna do that off camera quickly and I'll be right back. Alright, I'm back. The eyeliner is done and I've also put on some lashes. I still haven't found that perfect mascara that keeps my stubborn lashes curled, so I still stay away from mascara on my top lashes. However, something new that I just started doing recently is doing my bottom lashes. I always thought there was literally no point in putting mascara in my bottom lashes because I always thought I had like 2 or 3 pieces of it. I'm not sure if you can see in the camera, but here I've already done my bottom lashes. So on this side, my eye is definitely much more open than this side. Now on to the last step, we are going on to the lips. There is not much difference. I still overline the same way that I used to. The one major difference is that I used to wear a lot of matte lipsticks before. Now I like gloss. I like hydration. Your girl has chappy, dried lips. I cannot go a full day with matte lipstick anymore. I should also mention that I don't really go for bold colors anymore. I used to do that because I was very insecure before due to my two-toned lips, but now I choose more nude colors as long as my lip liner has a strong opaque base. And so for this side, I've done a bold lip. I'm gonna put matte lipstick over that, and for this side, I'm gonna do a more nude lip. I mean, nude for me. This is my most favorite nude lip liner of all. I really need to get a refill because I've broken her. She is broken inside, and somehow I'm still using it. I'm just gonna overline my lips the same way that I've done on my left side. Okay, so as you can see, it's very opaque, so it's covered up my two-toned lips. I usually use liquid lipsticks. I was never into bullet lipsticks, but I think my lips are really gonna suffer if I do that right now, so I'm gonna opt for this for now. And for this side, I'm gonna go with a very hydrating lipstick slash gloss. Or alternatively, I would also go for a satin lip. So that's how it's looking on this side. And that's it. This is the final look. I'm gonna do a zoom in so you can see the difference. We're up close and personal now, and we're gonna start with my makeup before. Still flawless, but just a little bit heavy. The contouring is very striking. The eyes as well. I love the cut crease. No matter what, I will always love cut crease eye makeup. And then on this side, it's much more softer. The contour is still there. The brows is a little bit softer in my opinion. And the lips, even though they're the same over lines, this one is definitely much more glossy, giving me much more needed hydration. And I love that the bottom lashes kind of open up my eyes even more. I'm gonna take it a step further and cover one side of my face. So this is my makeup before, and this is how I do my makeup now. If you're seeing from afar, there's not much of a difference. I think it's just the different methods and preferences. This side has less products but more quantity, and this side has more products but lesser quantity. So that is it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. This was definitely an interesting experiment to do. If you love beauty content as much as I do, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to my channel. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye!